Hello, all my lovely shadow people. We're at the week of April 3rd and just working on our journey in this shadow world, digging in, trying to find the parts of ourselves that we'd never seen before. And this week, we are focusing on things that make us uncomfortable and kind of looking at that comfort-discomfort paradigm. With humans, it's very common for us and our minds to try to always keep us in the most comfortable state possible. But we'll look at how being uncomfortable today can help us be more confident in handling difficult situations. Because realistically, as you go through the world, everything's not going to be comfortable all the time. It'd be nice if it was, but it just isn't. So practicing the shadow work aspects that deal with comfort and discomfort is a really good way of kind of working with that energy and just making ourselves stronger and more durable for situations that might be difficult for us. So the first part of our process here is the journal question, of course, to start digging into the part that we're not aware of and bringing it out to the light. And the question today is, what makes me uncomfortable? So while you're writing, I want you to look back through your memory and try to find the last time you felt uncomfortable, even if it was just slightly uncomfortable. But if there's an incidence of you feeling super uncomfortable, I think that's probably the incidence you should be reminding yourself about or kind of sitting with for a minute. And ask questions around it, like, why was I uncomfortable? Is this a pattern of something I'm uncomfortable about on a regular basis? Was it something specific about that situation? And often with these shadow questions, it's important to ask if there's an underlying fear related to kind of why that's coming up for us. So if you're uncomfortable, is there something specific that you're afraid of? You're going to find as you do shadow work that there are little fears that might play out in other ways that we're not even aware of that impact our lives. So with this one, definitely, it's going to be, what am I afraid of? Because usually that's the driving cause for the discomfort. Just kind of think about that for a bit, write about it, maybe put the question somewhere, and you can come back to it during the week too to see if further answers appear for you. But after you've had a chance to work with that, we're going to move into the exploring portion of our shadow work. And last week we did a visual focus. So this week I wanted to do what I call a kinesthetic approach, which is a physical way of working with this sort of sensation. Strangely, what we're going to do is a yoga pose. And we're not going to do a hard yoga pose or one that I think will be limiting for anyone in any way. But one interesting aspect of yoga is doing poses that are uncomfortable for us physically. And I want to clarify that I don't mean physically painful or anything that's bad for our body, but there are poses that just make us feel out of our comfort zone. Practicing them on a regular basis develops your nervous system in such a way that there's more strength in handling uncomfortable situations. So it fortifies it. So by practicing a pose that makes us uncomfortable in yoga, we get a better ability to be in an uncomfortable situation in real life that isn't a yoga pose, whether it's being in a meeting that we aren't comfortable in or talking to someone that we're not comfortable talking to, or maybe it's something simple like going somewhere we've never gone before. So in that way, it helps us grow just by doing this simple pose. So in this situation, you're going to stand wherever you feel comfortable. It is a bit of a balance pose. So if you don't feel like you're going to be safe, it's possible you can always be next to a wall or have a chair nearby that you can put your hand on, or a table. And obviously, I always tell people with all things that if you are not comfortable with this, you can always go back to a different practice or skip over it. But this is generally just the way we're going to practice this week. And hopefully it will appeal to people who enjoy physical sensations for experiencing things. All right, so once you found somewhere that you're comfortable standing, and obviously if you're barefoot, it's a little easier, if that's a possibility, you're going to press your feet into the earth and feel the heel digging in, but also the ball of the foot, which is the front part of the foot. And if you're not feeling stable enough, you can always lift the ball of the foot up and pull it towards the heel a little more to create more arch in your foot. This sometimes helps with balance poses because it makes you more steady. Spread your toes as wide as you can. So really feel yourself grounding down. And as a side note, this is also a good grounding posture if you ever feel like you need to be a little more stable in life. So just starting with this is good for all kinds of things. So now we're grounding down into our feet. And we're going to move into what's called a tree pose. And if you need a visual, there's going to be links at the bottom that you can review and look into yourself. So now we're grounding into our feet. And we want the top of our head to be pulling towards the ceiling. Our shoulders are relaxing away from our ears. And on the next inhale, you're going to bring your palms of your hands together at your chest in a sort of prayer pose. Keep the neck long. Keep breathing, feeling your body extending up towards the ceiling and your feet pressing towards the ground. And then we're going to take one foot. And to start, you're just going to place the bottom of your foot against the side of your lower leg. So you want the bottom of your foot pressing against the side of your leg near the ground so that your toes can still touch the ground. So kind of to add a little bit of balance, but you're still mostly on one foot. If that feels way too easy for you, you can move the foot up higher so it's not in contact with the ground. So sliding it up the leg on the inner thigh. The only warning here is you don't press your foot against your knee. So skip over the knee part. If you want your foot low on the calf, that's fine. Or if you want it on your inner thigh, that's also fine. But wherever you find that feels safe for you, you're going to put your foot and you take another breath. Find yourself grounded. Make sure you're solid. If you find that you are tipping around too much, you can always look forward and find a point that's not moving on the ground or the wall and focus on that to help steady yourself. After you've taken a few breaths, if you feel comfortable, you can extend your hands up towards the sky, spread your fingers like you're a tree. So that's why they call it tree pose. And continuing to breathe here. And when you're ready, you can bring the hands back down into prayer pose and release that leg down to the ground. So that's our balance pose, which seems simple enough in some ways. In other ways, it's a bit challenging. But the idea is to do something that makes us uncomfortable and then try to stay in that spot as long as you're able to. And obviously, if you want, you can do it on the other side. It's not really particular which side you do it on, but if it was an actual yoga activity, you'd want to do both. But the idea is just to feel yourself being uncomfortable and practice being okay with that. Now, for the last part, our grounding point at the end of our practice. So for this one, it's another kinesthetic activity, so another physical activity you can experience. We're going to do this one with food. So whatever food you choose, it doesn't have to be a lot of food, just a piece of food. And you're going to want something you can hold in your hand or touch with your hand. So no soups, no chili. If you have a piece of fruit or a vegetable that you can hold, or something dry like a chip, just whatever speaks to you, feel free to go grab that. And then once you've got your piece of food, you're going to sit in whatever position's comfortable for you, if you like the floor or a chair. And we're going to practice with our 5 senses. So you're going to take the piece of food, and the first thing you're going to do is look at it. And you're going to look at it on all sides. So take some time, turn it over in your hand, just get a good sense of what it looks like. Anything interesting or not interesting about it, just observe that. And don't feel like you need to catalog it or keep the information in any important way. Just enjoy viewing it. Next, you're going to feel the piece of food, so the physical sensation of the food in your hand. Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it sharp? Is it a little messy? Is it dry? Just the general sensation running your finger along the food. Notice any differences, any similarities around it, depending on what the food is. And then we move into smell. So taking time to take a deep breath. Just experience your food through your nose. Good. And the last one we fit in together is sound and taste. So you're going to take a bite of your food and take some time to think about the sound of the food while you're eating it, and some time to think of the taste of the food while you're eating it. Just try to enjoy that without judging it, without needing it to be anything else other than what it is. And once you've completed enjoying your food fully with your 5 senses, you can take one more breath and let it out. And this is our practice for the week. Feel free to follow, like, or subscribe as we continue every week investigating the parts of ourselves that we didn't even know existed.